on, so there's like a new Jujutsu Kaisen manga. That's cool, right? And it's like a sequel to the original series. It's called Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo. Maybe it's called Majuro in Japanese. I'm going to call it Modulo because that's what Viz is calling it. But it's taking place 68 years after the ending of the original series. So, you know, most of the cast is probably dead and or dying, and we'll get into that because when this opens up, we're seeing the grandchildren of Akotsu and Maki. And Akotsu just dies within like 2 pages of this chapter. Of old age, I guess. Maki died before him too. And it makes you wonder, like, they're so immensely powerful with cursed energy. They're like literally gods, but they still have like a typical human lifespan. You would think, considering that it reinforces them on a tangible scale, it would give them more vitality. You know, like how other superpower characters work. But I get it, they had to die so we can focus on their grandchildren, right? Everybody wants to see them. Also, in like his death picture, whatever you call this, you know, the death picture they put at Japanese funerals, you see like the scars on his head, which was like giving me PTSD flashbacks of covering the last 20 chapters of that series last year. In case you forget, it's because he like took Kenjaku's technique and then took over Gojo's body, and then of course nothing happened. But anyway, like I said, we're following the grandchildren of Maki and Akotsu here, Tsurugi and Yuka. And essentially, I guess they're like the new version of Megumi and Maki. Maki mixed with Nobara, kind of, maybe. Yuka's actually a pretty good character. I don't mind her at all. It's just that Tsurugi is like, he's kind of like Megumi. Oh, by the way, did you guys miss me saying Megumi and not Megumi? It's not going anywhere. But anyway, the big twist in this series is not that we're going 60 years into the future. It's that freaking aliens are here. That's right, aliens show up to Earth. There's aliens in the Jujutsu Kaisen universe. And the exposition that we're getting about their spaceship hovering over Earth is that it's an extraterrestrial life form identifying itself as a Sumerian has appeared, accompanied by a mothership known as the Nonax, carrying nearly 50,000 of its compatriots. They are seeking sanctuary as refugees. And then when we see them talking to each other, we find out that America is, I guess, on the surface considered to be the powerhouse of planet Earth, but Japan, of course, still has a monopoly on cursed energy and all of the sorcerers, and no, we're not finding out why that is. We never will, probably. It doesn't really matter. I think only weirdos like me care about that stuff, to be honest. But America maintains that all authority regarding diplomatic missions lies with Japan. So these aliens, I guess, have to go through Japan if they want to have entry to Earth, essentially. And we're also finding out that these aliens have similar powers to cursed energy and cursed techniques and all that stuff. So then we jump, I guess, like 6 years into the future, something like that. Maybe not 6 years from the aliens showing up, but 6 years from when we saw Yuka and Tsurugi, because they're now 17 and 16. And they're like full-blown Jujutsu High sorcerers. And they're being put on a team with one of the aliens that we saw in the cold opening of the chapter. He has like a really long name, but he just goes by Maru, so we're just gonna call him Maru. He somehow snuck his way into Jujutsu Society, got into Jujutsu High, and it's just saying that he comes from another country. And of course, they're like a little skeptical or incredulous about it because, you know, like we talked about, Japan has the monopoly on cursed energy, and it's very rare that there is a sorcerer that has been born outside of Japan. Like, you know, we saw Miguel, he was born in Africa, and then there was like maybe 2 other people, I forget, but that's pretty much it. And if you were ever wondering, like, why is that? In my opinion, I think Gege did that just so he didn't have to write as much and like flesh out the world more. I know that sounds mean, but I genuinely think that is why. But anyway, they're put on a mission to crack down on this, I can't even say this word on YouTube because the video will probably be flagged or something, but taking sorcerers against their will and then selling them, you know? And it's mainly children. And we'll get into that because think about back in season 1 when Yuji got together with Nobara and Megumi, and then they went to where that kid had gotten lost. Essentially the same thing here. But anyway, these rogue sorcerers, or as they say, curse users, stealing these individuals on the younger side because of their cursed energy. You know, we found out in the original series that Jaku revealed cursed energy and sorcery to the United States and the other nations in the world. And he was like, hey, these sorcerers can become batteries for you. Like, the amount of energy energy that they produce puts like generators and stuff like that to shame. So considering that nothing ever came of that in the original series when Gege set it up, which is, you know, funny and typical of him, I guess he decided that he'll flesh it out now. 68 years later, that's still a lingering thing, I guess. It hasn't been cracked down on. So that's what this cursed user is doing. He's stealing these small Japanese people and selling them because they have cursed energy. So the team here is trying to, you know, crack down on that operation. And also Maru can't like interfere with his abilities or help them because that's what the higher ups wanted, even though he does anyway. They eventually find out that this curse user has like this interesting barrier technique. It essentially compels you to go in a specific like set of directions to get to the location of where you're going to be abducted. And once they see a kid in real time get abducted by this technique, Tsurugi's like, all right, I'm going to go after the kid. And then he gets snatched up too. And it's interesting because normally the barrier is supposed to be keeping sorcerers out. But we're finding out in this instance that Tsurugi, he is a sorcerer, but he doesn't have cursed energy, as his sister says here. And that's why he uses that cursed tool katana. They're not saying heavenly restriction. I don't know if he has heavenly restriction. I mean, he is the grandson of Maki, so it's very likely that he will have that eventually, but it seems like he probably had what Maki had originally. Like, she does have heavenly restriction, but something needs to happen for it to be fully unlocked. You know, like Mai, her sister, needed to die. I doubt that's what's happening here. I don't think Yuka needs to die for him to have full heavenly restriction. Anyway, that's why he was able to be abducted. So once Tsurugi is abducted, he's talking to the cursed user who's been abducting these kids. And it turns out that sorcerers, or at least some of them, maybe in the underworld, are aware of this alien invasion. And that the Inspector Generals declared this extraterrestrial invasion as a special grade incident on par with Sukuna's attack from 68 years ago. I like that they mentioned Sukuna. You know that they had to. Does that mean that Sukuna's coming back? Probably not. He doesn't need to come back, but there is a chance, I suppose. Anyway, they ultimately think that there's going to be like a war to invade the Earth. And for sure, that is what's going to happen. I mean, you can't have like an alien invasion in a series where they're not going to be hostile in some way. I mean, yeah, there's some good guys here. Obviously, Maru is kind of like a fusion between like Yuji and Deku and Naruto, but he's probably the outlier along with his younger brother. But this is like the cursed user's last job, essentially, because of the alien invasion. Then he talks about packaging up the kids, and this page is not good. You guys know that I'm not like a paragon of virtue. But why would you draw this? Feel free to justify this in the comments, because I know some of you are, but just imagine if somebody in America did this. That's all I'm going to say. But anyway, the cursed user starts smacking them around until Maru and Yuka eventually find them. And it's because Maru's curse technique is to be able to bring someone and the world into harmony. So it will seek balance and find the person who's an equal match with you. In other words, it'll find Tsurugi. What an odd curse technique. I mean, it's so specific for this very instance. I guess there's more to it, and I'm sure Gege will have creative ways of Maru using it in the future, but it's very strange, right? It almost seems like it was just orchestrated to move the plot along. But Yuka goes after Tsurugi because they have like this weird bullying relationship, and Yuka like wanted to try to beat him up and show that she's strong, but of course he beats her down again because she's a woman in a shonen manga. Then we see what's going on with Tsurugi's cursed tool katana thing, and apparently it's called the Honoyagi, and the sparks generated from the scabbard and the guard are infused into the blade, and it like catches on fire, which is cool. I don't know if this is Maki's dad's curse technique or something related to that, because he did have like a fire curse technique that he used with his katana. I don't know if this is that. I mean, he was a Zenin, and this technically that would be his great grandfather. Who knows? Maybe it's just something new, but he is using new shadow style, so that's cool too. Also, let me mention that the Rika ring, you know, that Akotsu had, it's been given to Tsurugi, but it was also given to Yuka, so now they're kind of like fighting over the ring. That's going to come back to play, obviously. Like, Rika is going to come out of the ring, which is like weird, because how do you even explain Rika? Especially like, why did she stick around when Maki and Yuta got together? Anyway, at the end of the chapter, Maru, like his bandage comes off his forehead, and you see that he has a third eye, as we saw in the cold opening. And he like, I don't know, does something to like knock the curse user out. He does like whatever Saturn does in One Piece to Sanji. And then we see the siblings notice that Maru has a third eye, and they immediately assume he's an alien, which is totally fine. fine. I'm not going to step on that because Tsurugi did just find out that aliens are here. And that's where the chapter ends. Let me know what you think about this stuff in the comments, guys. I am going to be following this series from now on. Sorry if I was a little more critical of it than what you've seen of other YouTubers. I haven't watched their videos. I'm sure they're glazing the hell out of it, which is fine. That's what they're supposed to do. I have PTSD from Gege, and I'm trying to work through it. So, bear with me. Again, let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Are you excited for more? See you in the next one.